How's it going, guys, and welcome to my video that I'm doing and stuff. And in this video I will be reviewing a movie that I actually just got done watching, and this film is called The Hallow, which was previously also known as The Woods, but I guess they just changed the name to The Hallow, so now it's called The Hallow, even though on IMDb it says The Woods, which is really confusing. So but yeah, the movie's called The Hallow, pretty much. The Hallow is a film that just came out this year and is directed by a man named Corin Hardy. And basically the film follows a British family moving to Ireland, and they're moving into this remote mill house where the locals don't really seem to like them very much. And I'm pretty sure you guessed it, that reason is because there is something strange about, you know, where they live and all that. And it turns out that they live in a remote mill house, so it's like in the middle of the woods, and in the woods, there are mythical creatures, you know, trying to attack them. And yeah, that's pretty much this movie. I mean, of course, there is more to it, but I just don't want to spoil it for you guys. But yeah, that's the main idea. Now, I did have a few problems with this movie. First of all, it was very slow. It took a long time to, you know, build up to the final act, which is really cool, but just the rest of the movie, you know, I'd say actually like the first 45 minutes of this movie were pretty slow. Nothing really happened, and you just I got bored, honestly, halfway through this movie. But then as soon as things just pick up, it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun movie to watch. And also, the main characters in this film tend to make very poor decisions, and they're very dumb characters, but I personally try not to let that kind of stuff get to me. I like to see, you know, or look for more good inside a movie in terms of like story and cinematography and such. I just try to kind of look past that stuff and try to find, you know, more good in a movie. But yeah, honestly, the characters weren't very likable, you know, I didn't care for them personally. But definitely, by far, the best thing about this movie is like the whole mythology of the, you know, the creatures. The creatures looked really, really cool in this movie. It reminded me a lot like The Descent in a way, and what I absolutely love about this film is they chose to go with practical effects instead of, you know, CGI. And the practical effects worked so well in this movie, and just everything, you know, the creatures, just everything about this movie was pretty well made. Not to mention that some of the creatures are actually pretty creepy too. But although some of the creatures in this film were creepy, it doesn't mean that this movie, you know, actually scared me, because it didn't. This isn't a very scary movie. I wasn't creeped out, I wasn't scared, I wasn't on the edge of my seat, you know, it's not very scary is my point. But like I said, the film is still very interesting and very, very well made, and of course, big props to the practical effects they used in this film. I actually read a little bit about this movie on IMDb, and I read that the director of this movie described it as like a, you know, a mix of Straw Dogs and Pan's Labyrinth, and yeah, I can kind of see that in a way. It is kind of like a mix of both of those movies in a way, but it definitely isn't as good as either of those movies. But like I said, I still had fun watching this. Again, it reminded me a lot like The Descent. That movie just kept popping up in my head while watching this film. And there were some really cool parts in here, especially towards the third act. This movie got, you know, really interesting, and I was really into it. So yeah, that's pretty good. But again, the mythology, you know, the whole, you know, idea of the creatures and why they're there. What I really like about it is kind of a spoiler alert, but not really. They don't really, you know, give too much away of why the creatures are there, you know, the whole mythology behind the creatures. They don't give a lot of that information away, which I kind of like, because, you know, it adds, you know, a little bit more creepiness to the creatures, I guess, because you don't really know anything about them or why they're there. But I really, really like that whole idea, and I would honestly love to see another movie, you know, about this whole mythology behind these creatures. But yeah, guys, The Hallow is a pretty decent creature feature kind of movie, I guess you could say. It definitely has its flaws, but it definitely has a very interesting premise as well, and I'm gonna go ahead and give this film a 3.5 out of 5. So yeah, I would suggest that you guys check out this movie, especially if you're a fan of, you know, creature feature type films, or if you're a fan of mythical creatures of that sort. And although the film isn't particularly scary, it still did a pretty good job at being pretty entertaining. And that is it for my review of The Hallow. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Jacob Palacio, and I will see you guys later.